I made a generator that uses the kinetic flow of water to rotate a turbine that in turn generates electricity. In this video, I will tell you how electricity comes from magnets and wires. But first, let's make the generator and see what we're working with. I started by making the bobbin to wrap the copper wire around, and for that I got flat PVC pieces. I made a hole through one of the pieces and then laid it in front of another piece and used a drill to make a hole through the second piece. I then passed a nail through two of the pieces and applied super glue on the nail to keep it steady on the pieces. After that, I got some copper wires that were wrapped around a PVC pipe. I stretched out the wires to find the starting end. When I found it, I got the pre-made bobbin and made a few turns around the bobbin to keep it in place before using a drill to spin the bobbin and letting the wire to strap around the bobbin more easily and faster. This is it all done. It doesn't look the best, but this is just a start. Keeping that aside, the next thing to do is to make a free spin rotor where the magnets will be mounted on. For that, I used a small block of wood and an aluminum rod for the shaft and applied super glue around it to keep them together. I then got a wood to mount the whole setup on and two pieces of triangular shaped flat PVC pieces that will help to elevate the rotor from the wooden base. I also got a square piece and used a scissors to cut diagonally across its edges to get these two triangular pieces, and these two pieces are going to support the other flat piece. That way the rotor wouldn't wobble or shake while in motion. I set the rotor in between the supports to make sure that they do not rub together. Now, I got neodymium magnets, 8 of them, to have 2 on each side of the wood to get a 4-pole magnetic rotor with a north-south orientation. Now, do mind you that keeping tabs on how the orientations are is very important with the whole electricity generation process. I will tell you about that in a bit. But for now, I apply super glue on and around the magnets to keep them bonded strongly on the wood. Give it a little bit of spin to make sure that they do not fall off. Off to the next step, which is to join the rotor to the stator. I got the finished stator winding. It's called a stator because it doesn't move, rather it's stationary. Same goes with the rotor. It is called a rotor because it rotates or moves. I found out that the stator is lower than the level of the rotor horizontally. So to correct that, I got a few PVC pieces and used them to boost the stator to reach the level of the rotor for more effective transfer of energy. We will look into that in a bit. To be sure that there is a continuous loop of wire around the nail, I got a multimeter to check the voltage that comes out of the system. I connected the leads of the multimeter to the wires of the stator and spun it by hand, and even though it didn't produce much, it still shows that there is continuity and some voltage coming out of the wires. If you found this video interesting up to this point, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It is completely free to do so, and wait to find out how electricity actually works. Let's make a turbine that will catch the water to rotate the generator to create electricity. I got a small PVC pipe to act as the base to hold the blades. If you look closely, you will see that there are holes already made on those pieces to match the size of the aluminum rod. I then got pieces of curved PVC pipes that I cut down to size to match themselves, and then used super glue to hold the cutout blades on and around the PVC pipe. I used sand to reinforce the blades onto the PVC base for stronger bonding. There are 8 blades with a curve facing one side where the water will come from. So this is it all done. Now to join the turbine to the generator shaft to complete this lineup, I passed the shaft through the hole on the turbine. Previously I used a drill for this, but here I'm using a turbine. The turbine sits off from the ground just enough that it doesn't touch the floor. I used super glue to reinforce the shaft and the turbine to avoid a loose fit. Now let's test this setup. I sprayed water at the turbine using a hose, and it performed very well, spinning the weighted magnetic rotor at a good speed. I will hook up the multimeter soon, but instead of talking about the output, I will talk about how these magnets makes the wires to generate electricity. Now, when the magnets release a magnetic energy towards the wires, that instigates the atoms inside the coppers, making them to generate electricity. This setup here is an AC generator setup, so the currents flow forward and backward because of the arrangement of the magnets. Now, this is where it is important about how you place the magnets. When the North Pole comes around, it makes the atoms that were once moving freely inside the copper wires to align to the magnetic field and move forward, which is from one end of the wire to the other end, in and out of the load. When the South Pole comes around, it makes the atoms to change their direction of motion. If they were moving forward when the North Pole came around, they will change their direction to move backwards when the South Pole comes around. Now, if you place two identical poles together, that is something like north-north-south or south-south-north, it will delay the forward or backward movement, causing a ripple and likely confuses the atoms. Because of this forward and backwards movement, AC current is created, and we know that AC current works when electricity or currents moves forward and back, unlike DC that moves in one direction. Therefore, proper placement and orientation of the magnet is very important for proper creation of energy inside the copper wires, making the atoms inside the wire to align and move with the magnetic field. As you can see, this relationship between the magnets, the copper atoms and their movements generates electricity that is shown by the multimeter, which here it is 5 volts, enough to charge your devices like your phones and other accessories. Hope you understood this. If you found this video helpful and interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe. Turn on your notifications to know when the next one drops. But until then, don't just build, bend the rules while doing so. Make some noise, make some mess before you make some sense. Thanks for watching. I'm Emmanuel, and this is Nexel Labs.